Magician, Chris, you can tell this is my business card. It says magician right on there. That proves it, right? I'll show you some magic. I'm going to have to flick it harder than that. I can tell right now. Whoa! Hey! Look at that. Here, Chris. You keep that as a little souvenir, all right? Thanks for helping me out. But look, the heat from the hand actually makes it come alive just like that. Look at that. Some people think I'm just inhaling really hard when I do this. Kind of a spirit meter. Look at that. Come on, that's going right off the scale there. Give it a little flick. A little bit stronger this time. Whoa! It's quite difficult to spin it all the way around your body, so I'll show you. This is something you can work on. If you just add a little static here, you can actually get it to stand up right on your hand. Just like this. See it? You do this. Well, now if you can actually tip your hand right over, just like that. A little souvenir for you. A little memento. I'll teach you a little something here, okay? Now, this isn't a magic cigarette, it's just an ordinary cigarette. But if I make a mystical move around here, come on out to Grandma. Look at that. See, what happens is the spirits are attracted to the dark area underneath. They're going to crawl underneath and cavort about. Right underneath here. Now, I haven't stuck anything underneath there, right? Right? Watch close. You actually feel the spirits. Come on, spirits. Look at that. They go right up. Just like, wow. Now, if I do this quick enough, we've got a spirit there somewhere. If I do this quick enough, I can trap a spirit on the inside of the bill here. Okay? Now, hold your hand out. Whoa! You feel that? That's the spirit. It's just right there. Go back down. Come on. And that's real magic. Can you believe that? Yeah, it's got to be magic. Show you a little card magic. Would you pick any card out that you like, but don't let me influence your choice. Oh. You weren't going to pick that one, I can tell. You can pick any one that you want. I'll be fair. Now, don't let me see it. But you take a look at that and show over here. I won't look. Okay? I didn't peep. Now, I'm just going to insert your card halfway down here. Just like this. Okay, now it's very important that you concentrate. Concentrate on your card. Are you concentrating? That's the deck. Look at that. Concentrate harder. You did it. Oh, it gets all the way out just like that. But if I rub it just like this, it picks up a static charge. Actually balance it right on my hand just like that. Look at that. Pick up a negative charge here. Whoop, falls right over. Look at just the heat from the hand. Look at it. Cause it to come right up just like that. Stay on the center of the hand. That's where the most heat is. Come on. Whoa. Look at that. Some people think I'm just inhaling really hard when I do this. Come back then. And that's real magic. Could you lend me a bill just for a moment? I'm going to try to trap a spirit. I'll give it right back to you, I promise. I'm not working for tips tonight. I'm doing this for your entertainment pleasure strictly, but I want to teach you this. If you take a bill and crease it lengthwise, this creates a small pup tent here. And spirits are attracted to the dim area underneath. Okay? Now, I haven't added anything underneath, right? Nothing underneath. No gimmicks or anything. Spirits, if you can hear me, make your presence known. Come on, up, up, all the way up. And isn't that great? Spirits, if you can hear me, cut this deck at the exact location of the selected card. Did you see them move? Hey, did they warn you about the napkins in this place? Did anyone tell you anything? You have to be very careful of these. If you crumple them into a very tight ball, it excites the molecules. I don't understand it myself because I'm a magician, you know, but it's something to do with heat and friction. Look at that. The heat, you can see it just... Did you see it move there? Now look, if I add heat from my other hand, it comes right up just like that. Nothing can touch it. Some people think I'm just inhaling really hard when I do this. Go back down. Come on. And that is real magic.
Yes,
Well, it must be magic. That's the only explanation. Would you help me do some magic? I've got a very special matchbox here. I guess the most special thing about it is it only has one match inside. That's going to be your magic wand there, okay? You can check these out. There's nothing suspicious about it. No hidden gizmos, anything like that. Just going to insert this right into here. Now, if you'd use this as the magic wand, just hold on to that. I want you to just wave it in the air in the general direction here. Now, watch what happens. Whoa, oh, it comes to life. Go over, all the way. Whoa! She did it. We'll put that down. Hold your finger right on the... there, and watch. Wow! Did you see it pops right out just like that? Do either of you have a finger ring that I can use? Hey, is that removable at all? I'll trade you here. I'll give you my magic wand for your ring. You check that out. Now, can you feel the magic power that emits from the wand?
No.
You fooled me there. Well, it is magical, and that's why I asked to lend your ring right here, because I'm going to just put it on the ring, and we're going to try to invoke any spirits that are here. Just watch the ring. It's like a spirit meter, you see. Wow, look at that. That's going right off the scale. Now, believe it or not, I was doing this the other night, and somebody said, that's a trick. Can you believe it? I mean, when you do this kind of thing for a living, that really hurts your feelings, you know? So, I'm going to have you be the magician, all right?
Okay.
You hold on to the wand, and we're going to put your ring right on just like this. Hold your other hand cupped underneath. You're going to also be the safety net, okay? Hold it down just a little bit, just like that. Can you do that?
Yeah.
Anytime you want, tell the ring to go.
Ready, go.
Hey, I saw it move. Tell it with more conviction this time.
Go.
Look at that. Now hold it down right just like this and try to get it all the way off.
Go.
Yes, congratulations. It's a plexiglass wand. In fact, if you feel it, you can actually feel the magic that emits from the wand. Can you feel it? It's amazing, isn't it? I'd like to prove it to you, though, but I need a ring to do this. Could you lend me your ring just for a moment? Now, if we put your ring right on the wand, in fact, I'll stick it right over this end, just like so. I'm just going to hold it right down in my hand, and I'm going to concentrate all the energy right on the ring. Come on. Wow. Isn't that amazing? The spirits bring that right up just like that. Now, it could be a trick, or it could be real magic. But I'm going to prove to you this is real magic. It's the real thing. Hold on with your left hand to there, or your right hand, exactly. You're doing perfect. And then hold your left hand cupped underneath the end. Okay? Now, anytime you want, tell the ring to go.
Go.
Did you see it move?
Go again.
Look at that. Try to get it all the way up into your hand.
Go all the way.
Yes, you did it. Congratulations. You can see all the cards are different, though. Well, they're in no particular order. That's the important thing. Would you actually give them a cut? Okay, we'll complete the cut here. And you can choose any card out. Whatever you do, don't let me influence your choice in any way. Oh. Sorry about that. It's habit. I can't help it. I'm very sorry. Remove any card that you like. Don't let me see it. Take a look at it yourself and kind of show it around there. Okay? I'm going to dribble the cards into my hand if you just tell me when to stop. It's the motor skill part of the trick here. Right there. Can I have your card back on top of that portion? The rest go right back on top. And you'll see by squaring the sides, it's practically impossible to tell which card is yours. You don't believe me? No, only the spirits know. It's true. Spirits and I are like that. Oh, no. An easy mistake. Spirits, if you can hear me, cut this deck at the exact location of the selected card. Did you see the cards move of their own accord? Spirits, if you're still there, bring the card all the way forward. Would you remove the protruding card? You can check the deck out. That is real magic. Now, I'm not going to smoke, but I just want to show you a little trick. You can do this with a pencil, too, but I don't have any pencil with me. I'll just sit down and do this if you don't mind. Now, all you need to do is make a mysterious move around this. Oh, did you see it? Amazing, isn't it? Did you feel me blowing on it?
No.
Well, that's what I'm doing. I make a mysterious move, and I just blowing it back, okay? Now you can do that. You can do that. But the hard part, this is what, when you progress to being a magician, this is what you can do is you inhale. Oh, man, but that really wears you out if you do that. So, but, yeah, and then when you progress to just using your mind, you just concentrate. Oh! See? Kinetic energy, you know. Kinetic energy. You know, my grandmother, I have very fond memories. She actually taught me how the living can interact with the dead. Now, I know it's kind of morbid, but this is really interesting if you'll stay with me on this, all right? Now, this was actually supposed to contain her ashes, but unfortunately she spontaneously combusted. She left us with nothing but a little grease spot on the kitchen floor. But, you know, my family believes in death the old-fashioned way. They earn it, you know? My grandfather used to say that. I've got a pen here. I'm going to ask you to help me out here. I want you to write down the name of your friend, a good friend of yours that's maybe your next-door neighbor. Just make sure they're alive. That's all I ask. And write down your friend's name there. Just their first name.
Okay. What's the first name he said?
Yeah, just the first name. And then we're going to fold all these. Perfect. And sir, if you'd write one name, too. Yeah. In fact, fold it in half like this. Okay. And then fold it one more time, just like that. Okay. Perfect. Now, this one, we're going to write down the name of my grandmother. Her name is Grace. Could you just write down Grace on this one?
Grace? G-R-A-C-E?
That's right. How did you know that? You know my grandmother. Okay, and if you'd fold that in the same exact way, so that we can't tell the difference. Okay. In fact, what I'll do, after you've folded that, I'm going to turn my head. I want you to put that back, and I want you to mix these all up, okay?
Okay.
I'll turn my head. I'm not going to look. You got them there? I'm going to turn back around. Now, it's impossible to tell where my grandmother is. I'm just going to take these off, put them right inside here. Okay? Did you know which one is that? My grandma? Okay. Watch this. Come on out, Grandma. Look at it. Come on up. Whoop. You know, I would be willing to bet money that this particular piece has Grace written on it. Would you read it?
I got a feeling it is. I don't know why, but I'm pretty sure it is Grace. So. Yeah.
Excellent. It's magic. Thank you so much for helping me out tonight. Good to meet you both. I find dance-skin children's tights to be the best. I think it's very important to use elastic, slightly elastic, invisible thread. This is so you can feel the breaking point of the thread before you reach it. To break down a nylon or tight into the main strands, which are then broken down into the invisible strands, you start just above the toe and pluck out one main strand from a row. You basically cause a run here. Now, I have obtained one strand and I think maybe broken another off here. That's all right. I continue to pull this main strand out of the row that it resides in. When it eventually breaks off, I continue to pull until the other end breaks off. Now, by looking at the hose closely, you'll see that it's now jumbled up on just that row. When I spread the nylon back to its original condition, it will now open up a gap in the nylon. You can see it forming in this position right here. I'm actually stretching it further, which causes some runs, but that actually is a help in this case. Okay. Now we're going to need to pull out another piece of nylon in that same row, another main strand, as close to the first one as possible. And that would just be along the row of this open gap here. I continue to pull on that because we're trying to open this gap the complete circumference of the hose. Once you sever the tow, you'll now have to find the 4 main strands that run in succession around the circumference of the stocking. This can be tricky because one main strand can appear as several if it's tangled with another. But once you find them, the ones that come free the easiest, they will follow each other around as you pull all 4 simultaneously. Do not allow these to catch up to one or the other, because if you do, you will cause a snag and prevent yourself from pulling out any further strands until you get back to this formation of 4 separate strands which follow each other. All 4 strands are pulled from the nylon 3 to 5 feet, however much you'd like to wrap around a single card. But take one main strand, tape it to a card, to set up the LeClaire animator, you'll need both the card with thread wrapped around it and the putty card. Begin by unwrapping the thread from the slit in the card. Unwrap several times. Now you're not going to try to see the invisible strand that you remove from the main strand. You're simply going to use this inch or so protruding from the right fingers here to judge if you're holding an invisible strand. Begin to tease the end and pluck at the end of the strand until you see the main strand follow the motions of the left fingertips. You now know that you have either one or several strands in the hand. Begin to tease this away, pull it away gently, and then push the remaining bit of the main strand away. You'll be able to sense at this point if you have 1 or 2 invisible strands held in the fingers. Remove a small pea-sized piece of putty. Insert the putty between the fingers that are holding the end of the piece of invisible thread. Begin to knead it into a ball. This takes some of the thread into the putty, and as you can see, we have one anchor end to the thread complete. This piece of putty will now go directly into the ear. Push the rest of the main strand further down the single invisible strand that is attached to your ear. When you reach a length just below your belt, say 3 or 5 inches below the belt, tear it off with the left fingers. A very minute piece of putty, just the size of a large sesame seed, will be attached to the opposite end. This piece is placed in between the 2 fingers that hold the thread. Feel for the thread with the opposite hand and fold it or wrap it around where the putty is without letting it go. Now knead the small piece of putty into a ball, taking some of the length of thread. you now have set up the LeClaire animator. We're using a pink, almost fluorescent strand of invisible thread comprised of 10 to 15 invisible strands. This is known as the mother strand. It appears shorter, but actually the length would run using a normal single piece of invisible thread from my ear to just below my belt. For each person using this LeClaire animator setup, of course, the length will vary. The larger of the two pieces of putty attached to the top of the length of thread is attached to my ear. If you're wearing a jacket, it can be attached behind the lapel like this. It can also be attached inside of the jacket near the lapel like this. Or if you're not wearing a jacket, it can be attached behind the button surface like this. To obtain the length attached behind the lapel, use the thumb tip to reach behind the lapel, possibly as you reach in the pocket with your other hand to get something. The putty is scraped off with the thumb, and it resides there temporarily. It's transferred to the middle finger tip using a rolling action like this. Now when the thread is stretched taut, I can now feel both ends of the thread. I can feel the end in my ear and on my middle finger. The secret to not breaking the thread is to not introduce any obstructions in between the hand and the ear. You can rotate the hand down by removing the forefinger temporarily or bending it inwards. As long as you keep tension with the hand, you know that it goes at a straight line from the finger to the ear. I've demonstrated visually how you would transfer the small piece of putty from the thumb to the middle finger. But in performance, this would be done in a natural hand rest position. And you can see that it's completely covered from the audience's view. In the early 80s, when I devised this method of performing invisible thread, I found it very difficult to reset every time I wanted to perform. Using this method, I can have it set constantly and not have to worry about it. If the thread happens to come unattached from its space under the lapel or from behind the buttonhole piece of fabric and dangles around, and you're unaware of where it's residing without having to look for it, you don't have to look for it. You simply take the thumb and rub it underneath gently, underneath the ear, and you can now feel the thread on the thumb and just pull to the end, and you have the end of the thread. Since we're working with invisible thread, it's practically impossible to see it. If you try to search for the thread, it becomes apparent to the audience that you're searching for something. With my setup, there's never a time where you have to search for the thread. But in practice, you might find it useful to start out using sewing thread with the same setup from the ear to the middle finger, so you can get a sense of where the thread is as you're performing, and then progress on to the invisible thread. The whirling card. This is my version of Bob Hummer's whirling card. One of the most powerful effects that I perform for lay people, and one of the easiest to perform with invisible thread. The thread is obtained underneath the thumbnail. A business card or a playing card can be used. In this case, I'll use a business card. Under the ruse of bending the card slightly, supposedly to give it a slight aerodynamic, the putty is attached to the card and pushed firmly with the opposite thumb. This can be done in this manner, facing the audience, so they don't see you placing anything on the card. The right hand is formed into a fist, the card placed on top. The opposite hand is going to flick the card. It's very important that this finger remains horizontal and only flicks a very small portion on the edge of the card. And make sure also that the card is not tilted on the hand, that it lies as horizontally as possible. It's important the first time to flick the card away and catch it immediately, so the audience registers that there's something about to happen. Some of them may have missed that first interlude of catching the card, but now everybody will be watching. Now you can flick the card and make it go all the way around your body. You'll notice when I do this that I'm just going to step out of the way of the whirling card and then turn my entire body following the card around. Near the end, I catch the thread in between the thumb and forefinger, pushing it away and grabbing the card as it's still spinning in the air. In this manner, with the fingers going underneath and the thumb on top. The putty is now scraped off with the thumb as it's given out to the spectator. In order to do this with a playing card, you must attach the putty to the cardboard surface of the card underneath the plastic coating. In order to do this, I bend the card, creasing it and cracking it to expose the unwaxed or unplastic surface, and scraping it with my fingernail. So now the putty can be attached and adhered firmly to the playing card. The standing card. This is my version of Gaten Bloom's standing card. It's very powerful when performed on the back of your hand. It can also be performed on the palm of your hand, but on the back it seems even more mysterious to the spectator. For the presentation, I simply say static electricity can cause some strange phenomena. And I rub this against my jacket or maybe a wall. As I do this, I now clip the thread underneath the thumb, so it's going over the back of the forefinger, but underneath the thumb, and I can feel tension there. I come up from beneath the thread with the card and set it up perpendicular to the hand. Just by letting go, it will stand there on its own. I can even rotate the hand palm up with the card sticking to the back. This has to be done very slowly and gently because you have to keep constant tension with the thread using the head. Then I'll take my other free hand, rub it, picking up some negative static charge. Bringing it towards the card, I'll now release tension with my head. Everyone will be watching the card and they won't see, but when I get close, it will now fall over, just like so. Erectile bill. This is my version of Al Baker's erectile bill, which I first saw performed by Eugene Berger back in the early 80s. It highly influenced my work in invisible thread. The thread resides underneath the middle fingernail. You ask for someone to lend you the use of their bill. Take the bill and crease it lengthwise, using the forefinger and thumb of each hand. Notice how the middle finger is curled in towards the body, so it doesn't interfere with this creasing process. The bill is now laid upon the table, forming a small tent shape, which is explained to the audience. The bill is picked up, important at this point, to show underneath so the audience thinks. But actually, as you transfer it to the right hand, you now get the thread underneath the bill about 1 inch or 1.5 inches from the edge. As it's set upon the table, the entire body comes down along with the bill. Notice how the thread runs smoothly underneath the bill. Now, by moving both the middle finger and the head up at the same time, you can make the bill stand up straight. The hands are now pulled away without any attachments to the bill. Floating bill. The floating bill was actually published first around the turn of the century. This is my version using the LeClaire animator. I start out with the thread underneath the middle fingernail, making some gestures to make sure that the thread is intact. I ask for someone to lend me a bill. The first thing I do is to hold it lengthwise from the end with my left fingers. I bring it up from behind the thread as I hold the hand extended, so that I know the thread runs in a line from my ear to my finger. The bill is clipped between the middle finger and thumb, and then folded away from your body using the left hand. The thread, now trapped in the center of the bill, is pulled about 4 or 5 inches away from the middle finger. This is important so that the bill will rest on the center of the palm after it's crumpled into a ball. The left thumb kinks the center of the bill and now brings it slightly up towards the face as both fingers push the bill into a ball. It's not folded or done gently. It's just pushed into a ball. Now the right hand slowly becomes palm up as the left hand gently sets the bill onto the palm. It's important you move slowly at this point because the thread may be wrapped around certain curls in the bill or maybe an end that is sticking out. You'll be able to feel this and maybe turn the bill as you put it into the hand. The bill rests on the center of the hand. There's just enough tension now so when the head moves back, the bill will begin to float. So I make a gesture with the left hand to focus attention, the spectator's attention, onto the bill, and then gently begin to move my head upward. As I do, the bill will begin to float, and it appears to the audience that I'm just relaxing my body. Maybe the intense concentration forced me to be in this position, but now I'm relaxed. It floats up. I always think it's nice the way the bill maintains its appearance right above the hand, so it looks like the magic is coming from you, the magician. The left free hand comes underneath the bill, slightly towards the body. Don't get too close to the tip of the middle finger or you may hit the thread. It now comes forward above the bill. From the side you can see that I'm slightly exaggerated. I'm not over the top of the bill, but from the front it looks like I am going over the top of the bill. So once again, from the bottom I'm slightly back, and from the top I'm slightly forward. Now the key move. This is just pantomime and really based on Al Schneider's zombie theory. The hands are going to move around the bill, keeping the bill as stationary as possible. This is done by using the middle finger as a pivot point. The right hand simply moves around the bill, over the top and over the bottom. The free hand mimics the same gestures, creating the illusion that it is floating in free space. Once again, draw attention to the bill with the opposite hand so that no one is looking at my head, and I slowly lean forward as I make the gesture. The bill rests upon the palm. I bring the palm up towards the body so that there won't be any extra tension on the thread. Picking up the bill with just two of the fingers from the left hand and begin to unfold it gently. Now, it's not a concern to break the thread at this point. What you have to be concerned with is you don't pull this hand away from the bill, or it's possible you can make the bill move without really trying to at this point. It's important to move it away with the left hand, making certain before you do that there are no crimps in the side that will catch onto the thread. And this will dislodge the thread, even if it's wrapped around there in some unknown way. It will become free of the thread. And you're finished with the effect, and the bill can be given back to the spectator. Ring on wand. This is my version of Jamie Ian Swiss's animated ring on wand. The addition I've made is to use a plexiglass wand instead of a pencil. I always found using a pencil I could see the concern in the spectator's eyes that it was gimmicked in some way, even though I give it to them at the end of the performance. You'll notice if I attach the putty to the wand, the way that the plexiglass bends light, it is practically impossible, unless you're looking at it from a severe angle, to see the putty attached to the bottom. If I rotate it and show you what it does look like from front to back straight, you'll see it is actually magnified. But when rotated to the very bottom, it is sticking on the bottom here, it appears invisible. You may see the pink thread that we have on, but you shouldn't be able to see the putty at all. Don't stick it on the end of the wand, or the person standing over on this side will definitely see it. I begin with the putty underneath the thumbnail in this effect because I'm going to transfer it fairly quickly to the wand itself. After the wand is examined, I take it back in this position in my right hand. I now transfer everything into my left hand, using the left thumb to now remove the putty and adhere it. It's just a simple transfer of the wand, but now I've adhered the putty to the wand. I rotate it down, and I ask someone to lend me the use of their ring, placing it on the wand, and I'll just do a standard rise of the ring on the wand. This is to check for the spirit activity in the room. Taking the wand off, speaking about possibly it could be a trick or a trick ring, I now let the spectator become the magician. I make sure that the putty is on the bottom of the wand as I'm holding it, and the spectator holds on to the opposite end that the putty is attached to. The ring will now go onto the wand up to the spectator's fingers. They're holding on this end. Their other hand is cupped underneath. Actually, you can have another spectator hold their hands underneath if you desire. When I ask the spectator to tell the ring to go, I move my head very gently, or just turn it from side to side. And you'll see the movement, just like this. It moves down the length of the wand. I take up a little bit more slack by leaning back a little further, and now by shifting my head again, I can make it go further. To make it come all the way off the end of the wand, it's important that the ring be repositioned to about the middle, and you're going to give a fairly big jerk with your head this time, and to make the ring come all the way off, just like so. I then extend my hand and remove the wand from their hand so they can't examine it in that condition, shake their hand and congratulate them on a fine job, and remove the putty with the thumb and set it on the table. the animated matchbox. This is my version of Amadeo's animated matchbox. My matchbox can be examined completely by the spectator, and they will find no gimmicks or slits in the box. But there is a pre-existing condition to the sleeve of the matchbox. It actually has to be expanded so the drawer of the matchbox will slide freely. To do this, take a knife, find the seam in the sleeve of the box, and disengage it. You're now going to want to re-glue or tape this. I use double stick tape, simply placing a layer on here and cutting off the excess, and then reattaching it in an expanded version. Okay? The box will now slide freely in and out. If you've noticed, I actually do it on a diagonal, reattach it, so that it does have a slight grip on the bottom of the box when the box is completely closed. But when it's just slightly ajar, it will slide out freely. To begin my presentation, have the matchbox just containing one match, and it can be in any pocket. Begin the effect with the thread attached to the middle finger. Remove the matchbox and take the sleeve off the drawer and hand them both out for inspection. I have one match inside, which will be used by the spectator as a miniature magic wand during the effect. Take the sleeve of the matchbox back first with the wider end facing your middle finger. The drawer is now inserted on top of the thread. It's important that the thread is positioned on the middle of the sleeve. The drawer is inserted into the sleeve, holding the drawer inside, but not too far down to lock it into position. It's now slid back along the thread onto the center of the hand. It's now rotated back towards myself in this manner. The spectator is given the match as a small magic wand and told to wave it close to the matchbox. Just by lifting the head now, it will force the matchbox up into a horizontal position. If the hand is slightly tilted forward, it will force the matchbox to fall forward. We're now ready for the second animation, which is the drawer extending from the box. If I don't place a finger on the top of the box will simply rise up off the hand again, and that's not what we want. We want the drawer to come out of the box. So I'll have the spectator hold their finger so they can feel the friction as it happens, or I'll simply do it myself. So the finger is positioned, and by pulling back with the head, the drawer comes out. When it's practically all the way out, I remove it myself, hand it to one spectator, and hand the sleeve to another spectator. Once again, you're clean with the thread, ready to go into another effect. Animated deck. This is my version of Al Baker's pack that cuts itself. I'm very proud of this effect. It's very stunning and can be done with a borrowed deck, and there really is no preparation. It can be done spontaneously. There are some nice moves you can do while the thread is attached to your hand that really alleviates any suspicion that there may be thread involved. What I'm doing mainly is clipping the thread with my forefinger and then grasping the deck and doing fans or riffles in that manner. It's very easy to clip the thread. It keeps the thread out of the way as you do the moves. When the card is selected, you also want the thread pushed out of the way. I hold the left hand palm up, The thread is attached to the middle finger. The cards are spread right over the top of the thread, so they can choose whichever card they desire without interfering with the thread. As the card is looked at by the spectators, you square the deck into the free hand, and now place the deck face down underneath the threads. The thread is running at a diagonal line across the top. The left hand comes across and grabs half of the deck. It's important that you only grab half the deck and begin to dribble the cards, for if you grab the entire deck and begin to dribble, they'll stop you with about half the deck to go. That's possibly too much weight for the invisible thread. So, come across with the left hand, grab half the deck, and begin to dribble the cards. They'll stop you with about a quarter of the deck to go. You can dribble some more at that point or pick some up, and you can let the spectator know that. But when they're satisfied that you've stopped at a good position, you move the left hand back towards the elbow, thus positioning the thread across the center of the packet in the right hand. The spectator's card is now placed on top of the thread. The left hand comes back, but the right hand also comes up towards the face, so there's not too much tension being placed on the thread. The cards in the left hand are now dribbled on top of the right hand card. The invisible thread now goes from my middle finger underneath the selected playing card, back over the top of the selected playing card, then over the remainder of the top of the deck to my ear. Now, I hold the cards down in a fashion that I can feel a bit of tension with my ear, and now just by pulling my head back, I can cause the top half of the deck to pull backwards. Now, if I continued to pull back, it would force the card out immediately, but I always pause at that point, show the deck around, and then pull back with the head again. Since the top packet is back against the fleshy part of the hand, the thread now pushes the selected card out from the deck as I lift my head. When the spectator removes the selected card, that also takes the thread from the deck. The deck can now be set down on the table just by rotating the hand down, so the thread now goes over the back of the hand, or you can simply take the deck and set it down with your free hand in that manner. Rising card. This is my version of the classic rising card. It's a very simple application, but it's very powerful. It uses one selected playing card and the same grip that we used for the matchbox, which is to hold the deck in this position so that the thread goes over the top of the center of the pack. By positioning the middle finger in the center of the deck and feeling some tension, you should be rest assured that the thread is going over the center. If you're not sure, however, you can just feel by squaring the cards up and feeling with the left thumb where the thread is at, and you can adjust it in this manner if need be. I don't allow the spectator to place the card back. I place the card back myself in approximately the center of the deck. But what's most important at this point is that you hold the deck very, very loosely, because as you insert the card, you're going to take up quite a considerable amount of thread down into the deck. So you're going to hold the deck very loosely, and you're going to bring it up towards the face, your face, so that you can insert the card all the way. Okay? Now, the thread is never attached to the deck. But now just by pushing the deck away from your body and pulling the head, keeping tension, you'll now get the thread, the card, to creep out of the center of the deck. Just like so. And at no time has the thread been attached to the deck. Cigarette follies. This is an effect I call cigarette follies, but I hope it shows that the versatility of the LeClaire animator can be used with practically any light object. To begin with, I set the cigarette down in front of me, and I'm just going to do the standard blowing on the cigarette to animate it forward, which a lot of people know these days. And I'm playing on that so that when I supposedly suck it backwards later, it's much more powerful. So I just do this slow, mysterious movement, and as I do this, I'm just blowing down behind the cigarette. And most people will talk about the fact that I blew on the cigarette, or I'll explain that to them myself. Then I explain the hardest part is to suck it backwards. In order to do this, it's a bit harder to explain with the thicker invisible thread for demonstration, but I just set the cigarette on top of the thread in this manner, and then just pull the head and the finger back at the same time, inhaling, so that it rolls back towards me. The last is a jump that I actually saw Eugene Berger use with his spirit tent, which is his version of the erectile bill. And I'm doing basically the same thing. That is, setting the cigarette down on top of the thread, slightly off-center towards my right hand. I make fists as though I'm concentrating energy at the cigarette, and then open the hands very quickly, causing the cigarette to flip over. Defying death. Defying death. One of my most favorite routines, based on a living and dead test, a mentalism type routine, which I always thought were lacking in excitement, and I hopefully have done that using invisible thread with this. As with most living and dead tests, you're going to require a marked piece of paper. In this case, what I do is take a pad of paper and I mark the fourth sheet down with pencil dots on all four corners, both front and back. There are many ways to mark a piece of paper, and I'll leave you to look those up yourself. Since the focus in this routine is not on how I'm reading which one is the key paper, I don't feel that it's any great problem to have it marked on all four corners, which is very obvious to magicians, but to lay people beyond their recognition. All the pieces of paper are folded into quarters. I'll do this by demonstrating with an extra piece of paper just to make sure everyone folds their piece of paper in the same manner. Then it's requested that one spectator mix the pieces of paper up as I turn around. I have the thread secured underneath my lapel or wherever it resides. When I turn around, that's the only thing I'm going to prepare, is getting the invisible thread underneath my thumb. So I've turned around, obtained the thread, while the pieces have been shuffled on the table. So when I turn back, no one knows which piece of paper is the key piece. I look through, I pick up the vase, hold it close to my head. This is important. If I held it down here and dropped the pieces in, when I put in the key piece, it would levitate mysteriously halfway up the vase. We don't want that. So I hold it up high, and I bend down and pick up each one. I don't want to reach out of my length of thread here. So as I reach down, I'm looking on each piece to see which one is the marked piece. It doesn't matter which is the order, but I speak casually to the people about, gee, I wonder which piece of paper it is. Let's just say, for example, this is the piece. I now adhere it with the thumb to the back by the same rolling action that's used to transfer the putty to the middle finger. This is held back towards you so they do not see it attached. I place it inside the vase. The rest of the pieces casually are dropped on top. Don't speed up at this point. Make sure you keep the rhythm of placing all the pieces inside. I transfer the vase to the right hand so that the thread is going directly to my right ear, and there are nothing impeding the thread at this point. I'm going to rotate in this manner, pushing the vase further away from my body. This will cause the one single piece to come up towards the top. It has a beautiful motion like it's being blown out of the top. Now when it gets up to the top, I'm then going to get the thread in between my thumb and forefinger here and then pull over to my left so it will fly out into the hand. I take the paper, scraping off the putty with the thumb as I hand the piece of paper out to have the spectator read the name of the key person. In 1986, I published my small booklet, The LeClaire Animator, which was my technique for using invisible thread. It contains several effects, but not many details on the performance of invisible thread. In 1997, I published my book, The Art of Invisible Thread. It's a much more comprehensive study on the use of invisible thread, containing 13 effects, plus techniques used for lighting, audience management, but most of all, building confidence in your performance of invisible thread. I also have available the LeClaire Animator Equipment Wallet, which has extra supplies of thread and putty, 3 times the amount of thread included with this tape and with the book, The Art of Invisible Thread. The same amount of putty is included as well. It comes in a vinyl wallet that helps protect the thread from breakage as you carry it to your performance. Both of these are available from me. You'll find the address on the back of the envelope that came with the tape.